Hello, I know it has been a while. You might be hearing rain and thunder and lightning in the background. It is a very stormy day in Alabama. My name is Austin Schutz, for those of you who don't know me, and I am here to talk to you about graduate school and about successfully navigating graduate school. My glasses are very crooked. I don't know why. But I am just going to, I guess, embrace the aesthetic of crooked glasses. So, what I wanted to talk to you about today is navigating graduate school with mental health issues, specifically in my case, depression. But I think that this advice has the chance to travel. So you might be experiencing something else, and hopefully this can be helpful in some way. Um, so, depression, everybody experiences symptoms of depression sometimes. But if you experience symptoms persistently, then that might be a sign that you should reach out for help by going to your university's health center or counseling center or your doctor or a counselor or a psychiatrist, etc. I realize those things aren't always accessible for people. Um, and I don't know what good advice to give in the cases that they aren't accessible. Because to be quite honest, without some kind of intervention, in my case, a prescription medication, I would not be able to do graduate school. Um, and so for me, if I was in a situation where I did not have access to mental health resources, then I would leave graduate school and try to find a job where I did have those resources. And I do realize that is a privilege that those things are available to me. Um, so let's talk about symptoms so that you kind of know what I'm talking about, because I think some people don't realize that they are possibly experiencing something that they might need assistance with. So I'm just going to read the symptoms from the Mayo Clinic website. Some of them track with my own experience. So feelings of sadness, tearfulness, emptiness, or hopelessness, angry outbursts, irritability, or frustration, even in small matters, loss of interest or pleasure in most or all normal activities such as sex, hobbies, or sports, sleep disturbances including insomnia or sleeping too much, tiredness and lack of energy so that even small tasks take extra effort, reduced appetite and weight loss or increased cravings for food and weight gain, anxiety, agitation, or restlessness, slowed thinking, speaking, or body movements, feelings of worthlessness or guilt, fixating on past failures or self-blame, trouble thinking, concentrating, making decisions, and remembering things, frequent or recurrent thoughts of death, suicidal thoughts, and suicide attempts or suicide, unexplained physical problems such as back pain or headaches. Um, so the number for the National Suicide Hotline is 1-800-273-8255. So if you are experiencing thoughts of self-harm in this moment, I would suggest reaching out for help right now. Um, so, if you experience many of those things on a regular basis, or even some of them on a regular basis, it might be a good sign that you should reach out for some assistance in managing those feelings. This does not mean medication for everyone. Counseling is very helpful, even for people that need medication. Counseling is very helpful. I have done a lot of counseling in my lifetime to be able to kind of um, manage these feelings, and every now and then when I'm having issues, I will go back to counseling, to try and work through what's happening. Uh, and I suggest, moreover, that everyone in graduate school go to the counseling center, even if you don't think that you're experiencing mental health issues. This doesn't have to be a regular thing. It can be, I'm going to have my once a semester appointment to the counseling center so that I can unload about the experience of graduate school or the experience of my life in general, the things that are bad that I am dealing with, without consequence. That isn't entirely what counseling is for. It's for figuring out how to manage those things. But even in doing that on a not so regular basis, the thunder is so loud. I love it. I love this weather. Almost got struck by lightning with my dog. It definitely struck like maybe a mile from where we are, but yeah. So, what was I saying? Um, well, I don't remember what I was saying, so that is absolutely great. Oh yeah. Um, in so doing, in going that once a semester and unloading a bit, you might be able to talk out some strategies for dealing with certain of those things. Um, so it is something I suggest. I suggest it to everyone. I am suggesting it to you. uh, okay, so let's say you are experiencing mental health issues and you need to go to the counseling center, and you go. Most universities have some resources available for students with mental health issues. I have been to 2 universities as a student. My undergrad institution counseling was free. It was a university that focused very much on mental health, and kind of the backbone of the university was their psychology department. So it was a big deal. This was Idaho State University. That was a very good experience. Um, and I utilized their counseling center extensively when I was coming out, and it was very helpful. At the University of Alabama, counseling is not free. It is $20 a session. So if you are meeting on a regular basis, in my case, I had a stretch where I had to meet every week because I was having significant issues. Most counseling centers will have some kind of fee waiver, and they're going to be very willing to use those fee waivers on graduate students, especially if you're a PhD student who is being paid by the university. Why are they so willing to do it? Because they know your labor is being exploited. Like, if you are, in my case, teaching 60 students a semester throughout graduate school and getting paid less than $15,000 for doing that, you are being exploited. So the university better have some resources available for you. It's just sometimes you have to ask for them. It can feel embarrassing. My counselor suggested the fee waiver. I didn't know that it was a thing. Um, but it is good for you to know that in a lot of cases, those fee waivers are going to be available, even if counseling does cost money. Um, if those fee waivers are not available and counseling is not free, it's probably a lot cheaper at your university than it is elsewhere, which I know is not a great comfort when you're not making much money. And paying for counseling can add, to your financial stress. But I mean, there's just not really a good way to address that. Like, it sucks. Um, but sometimes you just need help, and, it's what it is. It shouldn't be that way, but it's what we have to deal with. So hopefully you are not in that kind of situation, but if you are, I still suggest doing counseling. Even if you have to take out, you know, hopefully you're not having to take out large student loans. That's not been the case in my graduate school experience. Um, but if you have to take out a small loan every semester so that you can go to counseling, like that 500 a semester or 1,000 a semester that you might take out specifically for counseling, I think in the long run you're going to be grateful that you did it. Okay, so step one, if you're experiencing issues, seek help. That help can be counseling. If you are experiencing acute and immediate issues, that help can also be something like the National Suicide Helpline, which is 1-800-273-8255. Step two, if you are struggling, be upfront with people that might impact. This is probably one of the parts that sucks the most, besides the actual experience of mental health issues and whatever might be causing those issues. But it is important for colleagues that you are working on a project with, for example, to know, like, hey, I'm going to need an extra week. Hey, I'm going to need an extra few days. If you're working on something like a group project and it has a due date and your experience of mental health is not great and you are not feeling like you are going to be able to manage your part of the project, that means that you probably need to reach out to your instructor and see if there can be some kind of accommodation. My experience has been positive in terms of reaching out to instructors, but not everybody's is. And in that case, it's yet again a situation in which I don't have great advice for you. And you'll have to be upfront with your colleagues, see if your workload can be reduced a bit so that you can actually contribute to the project the most that you can. But I mean, when you have an issue and there's no help available, there's just not super great advice to be able to give. But hopefully you will be positively surprised by the range of people who are willing to help if you are experiencing issues. That has been my experience. But it might not be yours. Your mileage may vary. The reactions of people to you telling them things like this will tell you a lot. It'll give you a lot of information. If you have someone, for example, that you have been considering as an advisor, you take a class with them, and you're like, hey, I know the deadline I know we have a weekly paper due, for example. Lots of classes will be write a 2-page summary with questions, show up, and we're going to discuss your questions, stuff like that. And you say, hey, I'm only going to get part of the readings done before class, I think, because I've been going through some really hard stuff. And hopefully I will be, feeling better in a few days, but, right now things are just not going well. And you have an instructor that's a potential advisor for you, like a dissertation chair, and they are not accommodating, then run. You do not, you will not be able, completing a dissertation is very hard. I am not done with mine. I can't imagine trying to finish it if I didn't feel like I had some support on my committee. And even with having a bunch of great people on my committee, it's still hard. And there will still be communication issues no matter how good your relationship is with everyone on your committee. It's just a reality of like life. So if you have someone who is just not an accommodating person in any way for you, then they just shouldn't be on your committee, no matter how good the topical match is. Okay, so step 3, make a plan. So we've talked about seeking help. We've talked about being upfront with people that your experiences might impact. What does making a plan entail? You need to pare everything down to the absolute minimum, or at least in my experience, this is what helps. Let me reframe. In my experience, what helps is to reduce as much as possible everything that I need to do in a week. This includes things like meal prep, like it's really basic minutia, up into, what do I need to do for this assignment? Sometimes you just have to mail it in. You have to say to yourself, like, I'm not going to be able to write the world's greatest paper this week, but I can write a paper that, like, covers all of the content and is not creative, but at least it does what it needs to do. So what is the minimum you need to do this week? Separate, or even today, separate that out into basic components. I have found that I can't think big picture when I'm experiencing really acute symptoms of depression, but when I have like a small manageable task in front of me, it actually helps to be able to tell myself, okay, I can put everything on hold, all my feelings on hold for the next 30 minutes, which doesn't really work. They're still there, but this is kind of like a coping mechanism that works for me. My feelings will still be here in 30 minutes. I'm going to do my very best to microwave and eat this burrito. I am going to do my very best to go into my reading notes and start outlining, a section of a paper. And each one of those small tasks kind of gives me a sense of accomplishment or relief. Even the microwaving the burrito, because it's like I ate, like, and I didn't, eat too much. So, it can be really basic tasks that are really challenging during these times. So, yeah. Okay, so do a plan. There's lots of ways this plan can work. I like to do these in Notepad. I'll just write down a bunch of things that I need to get done today, and I will delete them as I do them. And I'll usually do them in the exact order I wrote them, because like thinking about the best order in which to do them in and of itself sounds like a task, and I just don't want to do an extra task. You'll hopefully find a system that works for you. I mean, hopefully you aren't having any experiences of issues with mental health, but I'm going to assume if you've watched to this point in the video, you probably have. So, roll tide, as we like to say. And scale back. Like, your job is to get the minimum done. It really is. When you're going through this stuff, you just need to get what you need to get done to, like, not be catastrophically behind when you're feeling better. So that's your goal. Okay, so we have kind of 3 broad things to do when you are experiencing mental health symptoms. That is, get help, be upfront, make a plan. So what if you're doing really good? Well, you still need to prepare. You still need to set a foundation so that when you are struggling, you have done your best to be kind to that version of you. Um, so, what does it mean to prepare? Don't wait to do projects until the deadline. Um, Start on them. Like, if you have 20 extra minutes in a day, I know it doesn't feel like you can get a lot done, but it is 20 minutes of work from the most capable version of you. Um, so if that means that you're going to gather 10 articles that seem to thematically fit into a project you're going to be doing, like go ahead and do that. Like that will realistically be helpful, because when you are struggling and you're like, "Oh my gosh, like what do I even read to do this?" Well, past you put them in a folder. And so that is one less thing that you'll have to do. Um, so if your day is scheduled into like 8 hours, and I've talked about my scheduling strategy, I like to front load my week. So usually I work like 30 hours in the first 3 days of the week, and then I will work like 6 hours on Thursday and 4 hours on Friday, and then do a couple hours each day on the weekend, because honestly, work is kind of pleasure for me, but I try not to overdo it. Um, but whatever system you have, if you have extra time, embrace that extra time to do something, so that when you can't handle um, going above and beyond, you have a foundation to at least get what you need to get done. But related to this, don't overdo it. So let's say, you're feeling good, feeling like a little bit giddy because you're coming out of a funk, um, and you're going to work 16 hours today because you're going to get so much done, you're feeling inspired, etc., etc., etc. No. Just no. Like, maybe you can do an extra hour. That's probably not going to burn you out. But going that hard will burn you out, will cause issues in the nearer future than you would experience them generally, and you will just be putting yourself into a cycle of misery. I know this from experience. I had a semester where I decided I was going to do 5 classes and teach. And, that fit neatly into a 90 to like 106 hours a week. Um, and usually closer to 90, thank God. Uh, but I had no free time. Like, I had my days scheduled out essentially from like 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. Monday through Sunday. Miserable. Absolute misery. Was so burned out, and I don't know how I finished that semester. Don't do that to yourself. If that's what you feel like you need to do to complete graduate school is just not worth it. Like, it's not worth that. Um, I'm still like dealing with the consequences of that semester. Um, I am, working on building up a healthy body that I feel good in. I was very healthy prior to that semester. And maintaining that was impossible. It was, I'm going to stay in the office for 12 hours and every meal will be from the snack machine. So, don't do that. I'm just now realizing that I have this video set up to be in this small corner. Okay, welcome to my podcast. Hope you enjoy it. That will be today's episode. It's a podcast. Um, okay. Uh, Finally, for how do you prepare? Um, Accommodations. So, if you can request accommodations, if you feel like in your lowest low, you need some kind of assistance, then request those accommodations. That might be we have the Office of Disability Services at our university, and you might get a referral from your doctor or counselor, etc., to get accommodations from there. It is not a mark of shame to have to get accommodations. Those accommodations exist because people have different needs in order to be able to complete the same task, and it doesn't mean that you're doing it any better or any worse because of them. It's just that is what you need. So seek them out if you need them. And even if you qualify for them but you don't think that you want to use them, still seek them out, because if you hit a point during the semester where you need them and you haven't gotten them, then you have just set yourself up for a whole bunch of issues. You're going to have to take the time to seek the accommodations. You might not get them when you need them. It's going to be a whole lot of stress, so just get it done. So I hope this has been helpful. This is, these are kind of the things, the strategies that I have developed in order to manage mental health during graduate school. I'm not always the best at it. I don't always stick to my own advice. But when I do, things tend to go better. And it's not just my own advice either. This is like, okay, I've gone to a lot of counseling and now I have a way that I manage these things. I'm not saying this is what a counselor will tell you to do. I'm saying that this is kind of how I have learned to live with myself. And it has been very helpful. So, uh, you know, if you're experiencing persistent issues, seek help. If you are experiencing particularly acute issues in this moment, the National Suicide Helpline number is 1-800-273-8255. I separated this out basically into 6 steps. So when you are experiencing mental health issues, step 1, seek help. Step 2, let people know who might be affected by what you're experiencing know that you are struggling. So be upfront. Step 3, make a plan. This involves separating things out into specific, discrete, small tasks and scaling back. When you're feeling good, step 1, enjoy it. Step 2, but also prepare. What does preparation mean? That means when and if you can, in any amount that you can, do work before you need to do it. Don't overdo this. Don't say I'm going to spend 12 hours a day unless I'm feeling sad, then I'm going to spend like 4 hours a day. That's not going to work. What this means is if your day is scheduled into 8 hours and you finish in 6.5, 7.5, take whatever that remainder is to work on something that is not due for a while, or a project that you're working on with co-authors that you don't think you're going to worry about for a month from now. And having done that will make things easier for future you. You really, when you're feeling well, need to be kind to future you. So yes, hopefully these things are helpful. It's winter break for me. Semester got wild. Really thought I'd post more videos. Didn't happen. Kind of feel guilty about that. But that's graduate school. You prioritize the tasks that you have to do in order to make it through the semester, and certain things have to drop out. So let that be a lesson to you, I suppose, in terms of prioritizing things. I love doing this. I really hope it's helpful. I really hope that some of the things that I say resonate with people. But at the same time, like, this has to be low on my priority list in order to make it through graduate school and get where I'm trying to go in life. And you need to recognize which things also are low on your priority list too. So with that being said, if it is winter break for you, have a wonderful break. Happy holidays to those who are celebrating holidays. Happy days to those who are not. And I am sure that I will be talking to you very soon, probably about budgeting. Well, kind of about budgeting, about money. So be on the lookout.